Hello, world. Hello, Philadelphia. Hello, Liberia. Welcome. Welcome to another great presentation of the program, the ASHFORD GARLEY Live on British Radio Africa, British Television Africa. Today is Monday, the 27th of March, 2023, and it feels great to be back home. Father God, we just want to give you praise. We want to magnify your name. We are grateful to you, Lord, for giving us the strength to be here today. I know some heard the name, some heard people talk about them. But you've gotten the opportunity tonight to match the face to the voice. Some call him the mastermind, others, the doctor of law, the broadcast commissioner, the medicine of the microphone, the golden voice of Liberia, Africa's media doobie-doo extraordinaire. Just sit to get several to that. I just put no tragedy. Put by Father Conyo Pussy, Groba, Quick Conyo, Secret. But Yaku, a play. Second, we are Pelia. As for the giant, that now you know me, Garlic Walker. And if you're just joining us, don't be selfish. Share the video, invite a few friends so that we can together have a great time tonight. Very shortly, we're going to introduce our co-hosts and panelists as we begin this all-important program tonight. And by the way, if you noticed, we have changed our broadcast time now just to be able to cope with our brothers and sisters back home in Liberia. So going forward, starting today, our program will be aired at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be 11 p.m. Liberian time, and 5 p.m. Central. With that said, let me go ahead and introduce our panelists. I have with us the Reverend Idatus Ade. Stanik, hello, welcome to the show.
Greetings to all Liberians at home and abroad. Greetings to you, the giant Garley.
Okay, let's go ahead and introduce Dr. James T. Fisk. Doc, hello and welcome to the show. You might want to please unmute your phone.
Hello. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you, ASHFORD, and thanks to all of the viewers in Viewerland for taking time off their busy schedule to participate in yet another edition of Bridge Africa, Bridge Radio Africa. Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, as we look forward to seeing the arrival of Mrs. Rabbits, how was the weekend, man?
Well, I had a wonderful weekend. To God be the glory. A great church service. It was such a pleasure just trusting in the Almighty God to be alive one more time. Thank God for his grace and mercy upon my life and that of my family. So it was wonderful. Every day is a day of thanksgiving. God be the glory.
Okay, James?
Yeah. I mean, for me, during those times of work, I love to recline with my family and have an opportunity to compare notes, and the rest of it is always an exciting time. And I'm sure others who are listening or watching would share that view as well. Thank you for asking.
Okay, well, let us begin tonight with the whereabouts of our president. Others are concerned. Folks calling me from Liberia. What you doing? What you doing with our president? We can't hear from the president, And I think, the president is getting paid with taxpayers' money. And I think he owes aid to the country and the people to tell us about his whereabouts. The president's travel down has become a secret. What is going on? Let me bring you in, Idatus.
Ashford, this is one of the challenges we're having with our democracy, that the people of Liberia so dedicatedly gave a mandate to this president, in light of him being able to tell the Liberian people where he's going, what he's doing to where he's going, based on the fact that he's trapping on the Liberian people's tax dollars. Unfortunately, we see a president that doesn't care to inform his citizens concerning how he's using their money. I understand now he is in Dubai after having spent some days here in these United States. He's been 11 days gone, and we have nothing to show for his visits, but taxpayers, Liberians, quite an impoverished nation, is sponsoring this trip. But this is why we need change, and change we must have as Liberians.
James?
Yeah, I mean, we just have to. The Reverend struck a very important point. He mentioned taxpayers' money, and then I'm asking myself, or people need to ask themselves, when they talk about, when people mention taxpayer money, who exactly are we talking about? And people will be shocked to know that it's not just Liberians in Liberia, because the United States supports democracy all across the world with U.S. taxpayer money. And that taxpayer, guess who they are? You and me who work in America. So we have a say because we work hard, 12 hours overnight and the rest of it. A lot of people can identify here who are watching. And you, when you have your taxes taken away from you, a portion of that money goes to George Weah and the Liberian government, those who are supposed to represent Liberia. So we have an equal say in the fact that everything that about that trip continues to remain a speculation. Meanwhile, we're supposed to have a legislature to whom the president is supposed to say something before leaving, or at least they have the mandate to ask and be able to, even if the president cannot speak to why he's leaving the country, the legislature should be able, as representatives of the people, should be able to at least shed some light. So that's why I've always spoken of the fact that what's obtaining in Liberia is a pseudo democracy that is yet to be tested in October, and is a frightening thing as we head along that path.
Well, that is, what do you also make of this allegation that every time the president travels and invites people to come and see him, he invites people as members of CDC and not the entire population of Liberians. We've seen it happen here in Washington D.C., and he addressed the crowd, fellow partisan, instead of my Liberian people. We saw it happen in the Ivory Coast, and now we just heard about similar incident in Dubai. That I think the hurricane of the delegation invited the entire Liberian community to come to uh, the meeting of the president. And when people went out there in the numbers and they started to say, if you are not a member of CDC, you are not supposed to be here. I thought he's the president of the country, president of Liberians, not just CDC. What say you?
Well, we certainly have facts. Monique Sheehan went to Washington, D.C., was denied entry into the hall. We've seen our presidents do that. He's done that consistently because he has not come to recognize that he was once upon a time a peace ambassador for Liberia. And that means that he ought to be a reconciler. He's a president for the nation and not just his partisans. So it's important to understand this, that, Liberians need to rise up. Do you have to become a member of CDC before you can have access to your president in foreign countries or at home? This is the challenge we're having. Why? And it is just a reflection of ineptitude of a government that our president doesn't understand his role. At least he's president for all Liberians. The elections are over. When you win the presidency, you become the president for all Liberians, to include your critics. But unfortunately, this is what we're having. And Liberians, have more to see of a presidency that has not come to recognize and realize the importance of his role as the president of the people, of the nation state. In international relations, is the state and its people, nation state. Unfortunately, he doesn't see that. I don't know if he's making these directives, or those who are doing these things on his behalf don't understand that they are misrepresenting the image of the president to the very people he ought to be representing, to whom he received a mandate to govern them
Well,
nationally,
folks,
internationally.
well, folks, if you just joining us, this is British Radio Africa. That's for God Live. Our time has changed now, and we hope that you can help us share the video uh, and invite a few friends. Todi Jalal Naga is in the building. Mark Yarat, Marsico is also here. Please share the video, invite a few friends. James?
Yeah, I mean, I was just further elucidate on what the Reverend was saying. So see it this way: once an election is over, whether you like it or not, unless you decide to go into exile, whoever is elected president becomes your president, whether you like it or not. Okay. So that is what it means, that you become the president of everybody. So not necessarily you may want to, but even those who don't like the idea that you've been appointed to lead them have to accept it, because that's one of the principles of democracy. Okay. So then, as a matter of political reciprocity, what it means then is that if and when you find yourself in a gathering of Liberians, whether you like it or not, you have to understand that there are people there who you have to relate to, because the expectation is that your mandate affect everyone, those within your party and those with out of your, who are not a part and parcel of your political party. So it's just something that's easy to understand, and in some instances, because the democracy is supposed to be relatively young or pseudo, in my view, we what would work would would be in instances where you have some enforcement mechanism to make sure that people do their due diligence towards the nation state as well.
Well, Idatus, let us talk about the president's visit. Let us talk about the purpose of the president's visit to the United States. We've heard all kinds of rumors, and what have you heard, and what are we hearing so far? What brought the president to the U.S.?
Well, so far that remains a mystery. But what I do know is because of this government's inability to communicate to its people, 13 of them attended a UN water conference co-sponsored by Netherlands and Tajikistan in New York. There was no information shared with the public. This delegation was led by Bobby Wakefield, Eugene Nangbe, Polita Wee, and many other prominent government officials attended, even people from in the CSO, the civil society, represented by this young man called Tape. Tape is the UN Youth and Transparency Accountability gentleman that represented the civil society organizations for Liberia. But there is a lack of regard and or respect for Liberian people who's sponsoring this trip. Like there is a total disrespect or disregard for our knowledge of where our government officials are, what they're doing on behalf of the nation state, nothing whatsoever. He visited the CIA headquarters, as has been reported. What was the purpose? How does Liberia benefit from that? We have no idea. So, Dr. Fates have really been giving us some great credit. He's been calling us a pseudo democracy. I'm beginning to wonder as to whether or not we are an imperial state
Dr.
by
Fitz?
virtue of the fact that the president isn't, he doesn't care. He does what he wants to do. He doesn't think that he owes Liberian people a sense of transparency and accountability of what he does with our money as he travels. And this is quite embarrassing. Now he is in Dubai. He's been to the UAE and now he is in Dubai. We don't know what exactly is happening. But what is also trending is that they are reporting that Liberia is to benefit from a $50 billion carbon deal, that they've signed with the UAE, a misrepresentation of the fact.
James?
I mean, the thing is, uh, for me, speaking from a more professional perspective, I hesitate to delve into speculation. Okay. Which is one of the reasons why, when the U.S. ambassador made that statement, especially in the kind of setting it it had its own shortcomings. Okay, and now we're beginning to see it. Okay, so where you have an absence, a complete, you know, blanket information, this blanket of information, there's nothing that's been said. What do you leave? What's left is speculation. Okay, and then speculation becomes the recipe or the basis for mayhem and the rest of it. That's ongoing in Liberia, especially in District Number 10. Okay, so the first question we want to ask ourselves, was he invited or was he summoned? I was listening to someone having a monologue about that. Because that's the first thing, because if he was invited, then of course it's something different than whether he was summoned. Okay, but we do know, as a matter of fact, that the CIA director was supposed to be in Liberia a few days and then he left and then the president followed. And everything else has been shrouded in secrecy. So that is why it's important in, as public figures, public actors, especially having the nomenclature of the U.S. ambassador to Liberia, you want to be very careful how you make these statements. In other words, you are giving people these blank checks to say, okay, fine, you can go ahead and just continue to function and not hold yourself accountable to the people, which is one of the reasons why you have Bridge Radio and so many outfits out there, because it's about trying to hold these leaders accountable. The system cannot function. It's already bad as it is. And then they are adding another layer, a layer of secrecy, which is even worse.
Well, again, folks, if you're just joining us, this is ASHFORD GARLEY on Bridge Radio Africa. We come your way starting today 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's 11 p.m. in Liberia and 5 p.m. Central, and Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. So you might just want to get used to the schedule, the new schedule, and tell friends, relatives, and of course loved ones to log on then. Well, you just spoke about District 10. Yeke Koluba, not only is he passionate about District 10, he loves his people, and he's also frustrated. And he says some not so kind words to people who have attacked him and continue to attack him. Do we see trouble as we approach these elections? Take a watch at this video, and then you guys can come in.
To chunk them with rock because they are all partisans. So
And want to credit Spawn TV for this video.
they all. And the police arrested the ringleader and released him, which is Jumadu Keita. The guy used to be before. Those are the people that are leading the crew. But let me say this to the Liberian people: we have reached a point where anybody attack me, I will kill them. Yes, I have reached a point that the police cannot provide security for me anymore. If I'm under attack, I will defend myself. In the process, anything can happen. If me, I kill somebody for defending myself, I will do that. Hey, let you leave the people. Let them come for me. Let them leave the citizens. Let them come for me. I hear you walk to my brigade office. You see me sitting here, right? Let them come. Anybody enter my place, somebody will go to see Moses.
Leave the people come to me. If anybody attacks me, I will kill them. Where are we headed, gentlemen?
Well, I think this is just the result of the anarchical governance this government consistently perpetuates, deluded by the reality that they can do anything without accountability to the people when it comes to their peace and security. That is a lawmaker who is consistently being threatened by this government. And this is why I really need to hear the voice of the American ambassador. When a group of individuals can rise up and cause chaos, and for the leader to be arrested, it was on Spawn TV, it was shown on the social media, Vision TV showed that as well. But then to hear that these very individuals were released simply because they are supporters of this government, I don't think it's fair. The NEC also needs to put some practical plans in place to avoid trucking and people marching from one district to another. There's double registration. All of these things are recipe for serious electoral violence. And this government needs to be held accountable. The international community need to ask this government, when you really look at what's happening, it's been led predominantly by his political party leaders. The youth wing leader did that. The last violence that we saw was done by Mr. Gray, a representative and a CDC man. Where are we heading? Is this government trying to destroy the very peace that we've taken several years to build and is still under construction, quite frankly? The international community needs to act, and act now, or else we might be at the precipice of anarchy in the nation.
James?
I mean, the thing is, you already have anarchy. You have people burning tires, and certain areas on the world is a complete no-go zone, right? That's what political scientists call imperium in imperie. In other words, a state within a state. Okay, now this is a guy who is supposed to be a symbol of institutionalism within Liberia, right? Because he's a representative. But when you hear him speak, he uses the personal pronoun I. So in other words, he doesn't recognize the fact that institutions exist to be able to address these things. Meanwhile, those institutions are supposed to exist because of laws he is supposed to make. So you see how bad the whole thing is turned upside down, which is why I continue to say that we have a pseudo democracy. We don't have peace. Okay, peace is when you can go to bed knowing full well you can wake up in the morning and go and look for daily bread for your family. That is not obtaining in Liberia. So there was quietude, okay, that has been interrupted. Because why? Now you don't have other guardrails. So for instance, under Ellen Johnson's if you had the presence of United Nations peacekeepers and all that kind of stuff. But you don't have those things now. So you only have the local institutions that are supposed to be able to provide the peace and safety that is still eluding the Liberian people. And the consequence of that is what you see glaringly, that Mr. Representative can make a statement, can make a death threat statement, because why? In a state of nature, everybody becomes a law unto himself. That's another aspect of this discussion. Okay. Now, okay, things have degenerated to an extent that everybody has become a law unto himself. So you have to protect yourself. At some point, even George Weah say people should be their own security and get their own CCTV. So even his president have said at some point that the institution that they may not necessarily, they are institutions only in name. Beyond in name, they are non-functional. And it's a dangerous recipe for disaster as Liberia heads into an election in October.
You know, oftentimes you hear people ask about the presence of the opposition. Where is the opposition? And some opposition political leaders went in solidarity to Yeke Koluba, and let us hear what they had to say.
We have come in solidarity with Honorable Yeke Koluba to let you, our people in District Number 10, know that the opposition bloc in the Republic of Liberia is standing very tall with Honorable Yeke Koluba. Before I say something, let me quickly do a very brief introduction of leaders of the opposition bloc in this hall. You see, sitting here is our very dynamic and astute, energetic, The light. Yes. Senator Abraham Darras. In addition to being the senator of Monserrado County, Senator Dillon is also the national vice chairman for political affairs, the Liberty Party.
So the guy you just saw was he's the Secretary General of the Unity Party, Amos Tuet, I believe, and you also saw Senator Dillon, the win in solidarity to their colleague Yeke Koluba. And gentlemen, you just listen to these guys.
Ashford, what you saw there was a reflection of the civility of the opposition. They want in peace. They're looking for a society that we can express our differences politically, but we don't have to be violent enemies. And what you saw there was an expression of solidarity behind a lawmaker whose life is being threatened on a daily basis, simply because District Number 10 is the deciding factor between the popularity of President George Weah, and that of Mr. Yeke Koluba. So they went there, reflecting the very vision of their standard bearer, Joseph Boyka, and that of Yombi Kanga, who have all together come in one voice and solidarity to stand in the interest of peace and with Honorable Yeke Koluba. All of this that is happening in Liberia, we don't need to have it. We can have our political differences. We can criticize one another in the marketplace of ideas, and we don't have to be violent about this, because the truth is, in violence, nobody wins. Everyone becomes a victim. Thank you.
I want to credit LB Online Television for that clip. James?
The thing is, to tell you the truth, that is Liberia's situation is just like an onion. There are too many layers to peel whenever you take any situation, any aspect of the political ongoing that you need to discuss. There are so many layers. Okay, what do I mean by that? So now, you have lawmakers and then party representative coming to the aid of Mr. Yeke Koluba because he is threatened. So then that's political action. Okay, have they taken any legal steps? Have they called the people who are supposedly doing this trucking of individuals to come and register in different areas? Have they decided to come and institute laws that will be able to curtail those things? None of those things are happening. Okay, so in the absence of all of these, the inability to use the legal and constitutional statutory tools that you have at your availability to stabilize the society tells me that the system is not working. Okay, and then the question becomes, what exactly is the opposition coming to resolve? If the opposition is not trying to set new standards. I give you an example. Look at when Alexander Cummings, when these guys tried to do some shenanigan with Cummings decided that he will pursue the legal process and won those guys in open court. Okay, that was way more sophisticated. It forced those who wanted to go onto the streets and do some stuff to understand that no, you have other options that you can pursue that's going to be legal, that's going to be peaceful, that's going to be fair, so to speak. And the fact that you have these same people who are supposed to, be the vanguard for these kinds of institutional practices in Liberia have degenerated everything to that level, then what are the ordinary citizens supposed to do? It's just bad all the way around if you look at it from any angle.
Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, please unmute your device.
So, yes, good evening, my fellow panelists. Mr. Garley,
Good evening.
Thank you for, I'm sorry for my delay, as I told you. What happens, get over
Right.
sick. Welcome to our new time, all. Please show, and please make everyone aware that we have a new time. Thank you.
Okay, very shortly, we're going to host as our special guest, Dr. Rockefeller Cooper. Dr. Cooper is death investigator, forensic death investigator, and he will come to throw light on the preliminary results from the autopsy of Shallow Shallow Musu, and let's see what he has because Dr. Benedict Coley just released something he turned preliminary results as the real result will come within 2 weeks. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in as we welcome Dr. Rockefeller Cooper. Dr. Cooper, hello and welcome to the show.
Yes, sir, Mr. Garley. How are you doing? Fellow
Yeah.
panelists, how are we doing today?
Good
Yeah,
evening.
for the sake of the
Greetings,
audience,
Doc.
why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself within 2 minutes?
Wow. Well, I'm Rockefeller F. Cooper II, Liberian by nationality. I do have a background in medicine as well as a background and extensive training in forensic medical legal death investigation. I work in the autopsy industry where we generate cause and manner of death within the private autopsy sector. So especially because not everybody, as in a dead body, is autopsy. So all over the country, people come to us for assistance, and we're able to do due diligence. And that's about it. I don't know if there's anything extra because evidently everyone knows why I'm here. A lot of people, my name is basically a household name, so um, I'm not going to repeat myself. But if there's anything in particular that you would like me to,
Okay, thank you, Doc.
I'm more
We'd
than
like
glad.
to welcome to Austin Carpet of East Orange, New Jersey. Austin, how you doing? It's been a minute. We'd also like to say welcome to Jack and Tony Jlaw and Mark Masukwet. Well, Doc, we over the last few days we saw preliminary results uh, as it relates to the autopsy of the late Shalom Musul in the person of Dr. Benedict Coley, and he also said within 2 weeks he would give us the actual results. And we saw you put out an article that differs from what we actually saw via video uh, re-
Correct.
relating to Dr. Coley. So why don't you take 5 minutes and present your case, and then our panelists will uh, go around the room and ask you a few questions. Take five.
Yes. Sure. Well, so this case is clear cut from my standpoint, and that comes with based on my experience, which of course has built up over the years. Now, when you listen to the what I would call the pre statement, okay, that was given before the autopsy, Dr. Benedict Coley made some shocking statements. One in particular, he said, and I will try to quote that the just so I'm trying to quote as much as best as possible. But basically, so he said that they've heard that Shalom Musu was stabbed multiple times. However, the primary goal would be to find that particular single stab wound that led to her death. Well, when we talk about stabbing deaths, you cannot go and say you're going to find that particular stab wound. That's one. That alone shows inexperience and unfamiliarity with the conduction of a forensic exam. So that right there raised a lot of flags. So already he was going to perform the autopsy, being confronted with the issue of bias or being prejudgmental. When you go in to conduct a post-mortem exam, and please excuse the background, I'm around sensitive material, and that's why it looks as it is. So, but back to the point, um, you cannot go to conduct a post-mortem exam and you make a statement like that. You go there, open-minded, along with the facts from law enforcement, and you try to establish a relationship. You see, and let me say this. In Liberia, people tend to glorify this autopsy thing. Autopsy is just a part of the process. So it's nothing special, so special. Well, it helps, but if it's been done by the wrong person, it can basically throw the keys, throw a monkey wrench into the keys. And as I see a problem coming up with this case, and just as we saw last year with Princess Cooper. So this time around, the truth will be told.
Okay, the voice of Dr. Rockefeller Cooper. But just before my colleagues come in, Doc,
Yeah.
you add forensic death investigator.
Yes.
And Dr. Cooley is a pathologist.
Okay.
That's his turf. Now the question is, who are you to tell him what to do when it comes to his area? Something that you're not part of.
Okay, so let's address that point, because that is a misconception that is held by a lot of Liberians, even the educated ones that you think will know better, to even just make inquiries on their own. Now, first and foremost, being a pathologist does not qualify you to do an autopsy. That's one. Number two, as a pathologist, you are in a position to conduct two types of autopsies based on your training. One would be a hospital-based autopsy, commonly known as a clinical autopsy, or a forensic autopsy, which requires an adequate amount of training within the field of forensic medicine and forensic pathology. Now, the reason why I refer to myself as a forensic medical legal death investigator, which, by the way, the National Association of Medical Examiners here within the United States will also see me as, is because autopsies are not only performed by pathologists. Even when a forensic autopsy is performed by a pathologist, say a hospital pathologist, he does it in consultation with a forensic pathologist. The reason is so that you will come up with a fair result. This thing, Mr. Garley, this is no fly by night, okay? So one like me, I conduct my investigations from the scene where the issue happened, or the incident took place rather, and then to the post-mortem table, and which makes it very, very advantageous, because you can, like in this case, for example, like the article that you saw, I believe if you took note of the heading, it said part 1. There's a reason why there's part 1, because the elements or the evidential material that's going to be released, I mean, there's no way around it. This time around, we must correct the mistakes. And I have a personal vendetta against Dr. Benedict Coley, because we still have a school to settle for what he did to Princess Cooper and her family. And I've taken this matter heads on. So right now, the LMP is on track. I would highly, highly, highly suggest that they stay on track, because any deviation, trust me, the facts will be told. And let me go ahead to say this. Over the past, I think, couple of weeks or so, everything that I say, I don't just get up and just make statements, Mr. Garley. So, like we saw, where the U.S. ambassador made statements where he was throwing, I guess, jabs at some people indirectly. I'm in the system. So when I speak, there's authority behind my words that can be supported. So just in case, if they come from that angle, if the hardcore facts are needed, because yes, the international community needs to step in. If not, Liberia is going to run into a crisis. We cannot have our citizens, okay, living in pandemonium fear. It's like women no longer have any rights in the country, okay? I'm sorry to say, but I mean, it's almost like even pets have more rights in the country than the women. So, and with this going on, that's become a trend where, women die under mysterious circumstances. the cases are basically mishandled by people who are trying to do what they are not trained to do. It has created a problem and it's frustrating a lot of families. I don't know if my family member will be next.
Thank you,
So,
Doctor. And just for the audience, I spoke with Dr. Coley at the weekend. He said he was traveling, and I again reached out to him this afternoon, left him a couple of messages so that he can appear with Dr. Cooper, but to not avail. So let us go to Pastor Ade.
but just before Pastor Ade, I want to
in answering what he has to say, you can include that, Doc, please.
Okay, sure.
So, Doc, I read your article, and your first point is to summarily dismiss everything that Dr. Coley did.
Yes.
But if pathology is to define the manner and cause of death, right?
No.
And hold on. What he published for the public to see, he stated that this girl, the manner of death was stabbing that destroyed an arterial artery that led to so much blood in the lungs, thus collapsing the lungs, leading to hemorrhaging or bleeding. You being a forensic pathologist, are you suggesting that a clinical pathologist can, who has the expertise to examine how blood flows in the body, urine samples, among several other things, is unable to make a judgment call concerning the cause of death, the manner of death, stabbing, the cause, hitting the artery in the lungs, causing her to, collapse and bleed out? Was that a wrong assessment that he did?
Dr.
Okay,
Cooper, Dr. Cooper, you had 2 minutes to respond, and then you had additional minute to add to what you were about to say. Go ahead.
Okay, well, yeah, quickly, what I was going to say was, please make sure that you get Dr. Coley here because I need to face him. We need to square things off.
And I already said that. I already reached out to him.
I know to reach out again, because it could be for whatever reason, and I'm available to confront him face to face. Okay, so to your point, Pastor Ade. So first and foremost, pathology is the study of diseases. Okay, now that's just to clarify that for you. Then you also refer to him as a forensic pathologist. No, though I had to study forensic pathology and forensic medicine, I am a forensic medical legal death investigator. Okay, so I just wanted to set the record straight on that. Now, from an anatomical standpoint of view, that statement, as in the stabbing hitting an artery in the lungs, I wish I could do a live demonstration. And if Dr. Coley wants to come on, because we can set it up to where when I have a case, in fact, right now, as you see, I'm dressed and I have to obscure my background, is because I'm in the process of doing a case afterwards. I would like to do a display so he can show the whole world where he will direct me. It is not possible. The only artery that's in the lungs, in fact, that leaves from the lungs will be the pulmonary artery, basically, which leaves the heart rather, and it goes to the lungs. So that takes deoxygenated blood to the lungs so that gaseous exchange can take place. That's how you breathe out carbon dioxide and you take in oxygen. So that in itself did not make any sense at all. Okay, and there's another reason why his conclusion did not make any sense, which I'm keeping. I will not say that now because I'm not going to help him to solve this case. Okay, so that when his final report comes out, then we'll release it. It is not possible. In fact, the good thing is you have a nurse practitioner here who had to spend time in the clinic. People, for example, they get stabbed in the chest where even the lung is punctured.
Just 2 seconds, please. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. That's an issue where a person is rushed to the hospital. They survive it. So his cause of death, it makes no sense at all. And I wish he was really here so that I could, he and I could square things also, could convince and us to see how that happens.
Well, this is just part one. You have part 2 and part 3 to come. So within the time span, he will show up. Dr. James?
But can I do a follow-up, Ashford?
Yeah, go ahead. 30 seconds, please. Go ahead.
So in your clinical expertise as a forensic death investigator, which you are, you are expert in investigating violent deaths, right?
Yes. Yes.
Are you dismissing that this girl died by, the manner of death? I mean, was stabbing,
Well,
and the
yes.
cause of death is bleeding?
As rightfully stated, yes, there was stabbing involved, but some things I will not go into now, simply because he has labeled his finding as provisional, which does not in itself make any sense because he has already given a cause of death. Okay, so I want to wait. As soon as I have everything, I mean, this thing is going to be dropped in batches. I guarantee you that. As soon as his reports comes out, the Liberian people, trust me, they will get to know the facts in this case. Even if no newspaper wants to carry it, as soon as I just make do a headline on Facebook to do a live presentation, people will log on. The fact, this will not be another Princess Cooper story.
So, Dr. Cooper, what is your interest here? I mean, Dr. Cooley works for the government. Who are you representing? Are you doing this because you are a Liberian and you want to see a case result to a Liberian who was stabbed?
One, I'm a Liberian. Two, just like Dr. Benedict Cooley, I, Rockefeller F. Cooper II, also took an oath to save lives. Number three, I'm frustrated and I've been negatively impacted over the way in which death has been investigated in my country. I'm, right now, I'm afraid because I don't know who's next. I have people in Liberia who are very important to me. I have ties with a lot of women in Liberia. I do not want any of my friends or close ones, to end up like this. Where I wake up one morning and see somebody on Spoon TV or KMTV or whatnot, and then the autopsy report spew a bunch of nonsense. We just saw, and this is becoming a trend. We just saw last year where a young lady was murdered, placed behind a building. Her blood was spilled. Okay. But the thing is, you see, criminals always make stupid mistakes, especially when you're not, when you don't understand how the system works. Okay. What happened? The pathologists were brave enough to tell the Liberian people that Princess Cooper died of tuberculosis. Princess Cooper died of tuberculosis. It's been basically a year. Have we had any tuberculosis outbreak in the country since it was recommended that there should be some sort of contact tracing because she had interacted with a lot of people? I don't think so.
Thank you,
I
Doc.
never heard of that.
Thank you, Doc. Thanks for your service, and wish we could have more people like you that, for the sake of country and the sake of professionalism, will do these kinds of things just for Liberia. Dr. James Fisk.
Okay, yeah. Welcome, Dr. Rockefeller, once more to this program. So, in the process of an investigation,
Yes.
there's a holistic approach that's taken, right? There's this scientific pathology, and then of course there's criminal forensic examination and the rest of it. And then of course there's eyewitness account. So what we know up until this point is that no one has said that there was any shooting, that there was any gun that was involved in the incident, and that stand to be corrected. And we also know that there was some allegation of the use of pepper spray. So we know that pepper spray was a part of that whole incident that occurred. Whether it was a knife, we don't know what occurred and be corrected. Some kind of sharp, blunt object that was used on this person who eventually died. Okay, so then even if the person was stabbed in the torso, okay, the possibility of having an extended period to live would have existed. I know. Okay, but if the person was stabbed in the thoracic region, okay, that possibility becomes it dwindles significantly, right? Because if they stab in the sternum, even though the heart is not necessarily there, but is going to effect is going to hit directly the thoracic cavity. If you go to the right, you go into the lung. You go to the left, you go into the lung. The heart is in an elliptical shape. So if you hit anywhere within the apex, you go into the heart. Okay. Now you got it. I mean, that was a simple but significant explanation that, okay, fine, you have deoxygenated blood going to the lungs, the aorta. Then, of course, you have the superior inferior vena cava and the rest of it, right? So even if that sharp object went to the ventricle or the aorta, whichever, the fact that that blunt object has hit the heart, I don't know what kind of significant process would have reversed a decompensation that would have occurred immediately after. But the only thing I'm seeing is that what I have question with is the fact that this report will come up and the doctor referred to the report as preliminary. Okay, so in some respect, I kind of side with you that we need to see the final outcome, but to be able to discuss it. But even in the absence of a final outcome, what is your own thesis when it comes to the cause of death? What is your own thesis? What is your, it's not speculation, what's your own thesis when it comes to that? You help us understand.
Well, yes. So great arrangement of the question. Now, obviously, this is it has to be ruled as a homicidal death, and like we all know, there's multiple stab wounds that's involved. Now, there are some other. I'm sorry. Okay, there's some other critical components to this, Dr. Fisk. Okay, and I'm so eager to talk right now, but I'm tempted to talk, but I just have to keep it zipped for now until the report comes out. But the reason why I came up with this first write-up was to start laying the foundation so that there will be no reneging, no trying to eat back your words, or no trying to put us on another goose chase like we saw with the Princess Cooper's case.
I've not had the chance to read your report yet, but help us understand the central thesis of the report. What exactly are you trying to say?
Yes. So first and foremost, number one, that provisional report was highly premature. Okay, you cannot give a provisional report and then where you're giving the cause of death, and at the same time you're saying that you're waiting on other scientific findings. Okay, let me give you a mere example. You wake up one morning, somebody is laying in your yard. Okay, and that person happens to be maybe a community leader, so everybody is upset. They're eager to know what's going on. The spokesman for whatever institution that's handling the investigation could simply say, well, ladies and gentlemen, in this matter, we suspect foul play, but we ask you all to bear with us as this is a continuous investigation. We need to look into this from a post-mortem standpoint and run some other exams. That's why you call provisional. So if you come now and say that already before going, right, he stated, and it's on. I mean, the video is there, that we heard that she was stabbed multiple times, but the goal is to basically is to show that particular wound, that stab wound that led to her death. So what is
Does it make a difference if she was stabbed versus if she was shot? I don't understand. Because at the end of the day, we had an outcome. She died.
Well, yes, she died. But the thing is, you have to look. Well, yes, I would say it makes a difference from so many different forensic angles.
Okay, help us understand.
Okay, so let's say if she was stabbed, of course we know what what led to her death. That would have been a gunshot wound. Okay, then was it suicide? Was it homicide? Okay, we're able to look into that. Let's assume that someone did it. We were able to retrieve the bullet. In a serious and well-organized system, we'll be able to establish the ballistic sprint. Okay, because maybe that same weapon may have been used before. All right.
Shouldn't the main concern be trying to link, because the person already died? We know that there was some kind of blunt object that was used. The person may have been stabbed multiple times and then eventually died. Shouldn't we be at this point trying to establish a link between the weapon and whoever may have used the weapon? In other words, fingerprinting. Shouldn't that be where this investigation should be headed?
Well, yes, that's what the police should have done. But again, some of the questions you ask, I mean, your questions are brilliant, and I understand where you're coming from. But basically, you are causing me to step into batches 2 and 3, which I don't want to release now because, and the reason is simple, Dr. Fitz. Not I don't want to answer your question, but my goal is not to give any clues that will be capitalized on by Dr. Benedict Coley.
Okay, I'll hold you there, Doc, as we bring in Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts.
Yes. So thank you, Mr. Dr. Cooper, for being here tonight. For me, I'm not as medically or biological or hematology, whichever science you're in. I'm not scientific. However, I would like to know: are you in Liberia or here?
No, I'm here in the U.S.
Great. That leads me to my question. How are you able to tell without, being the examiner on hands-on, that this other scientific person's work is nonsensical? I know you have, scientific knowledge, but without seeing the scene or the body, or how can you say nonsensical? I mean, that's a very grave word, or a big word to say. That's my main question.
Give us 2 minutes, Doc.
Okay. Yes, sure. So there's a reason, Mrs. Brooks, why there are segments to this, to this saga. Okay. So the mechanisms have been put in place. And your question, yes, you're right. How would I? Okay. All I can say is that at the end of the day, you will understand why. For security reasons, I would not want to say, well, to answer your questions directly.
Okay. But okay, I get.
Yeah, let me let me address another part.
Report or something, or did you get something leaked to you?
Well, I would say this: I'm in the position to basically see that this case is closed properly. Let me repeat myself. As I've been sitting for days ago, I have been in a position to see that this case is closed accordingly. So save the video and hold me for accountability purpose.
But so if it's closed, how is it that he's waiting for more scientific evidences or conclusions?
Yeah, so the saying goes, it is not what you do in life that matters, but accountability is bestowed upon the manner in which your endeavors are conducted. There are so many ways to win the race, to reach the finish line. Some of us will take a straight path, some of us will climb on others, some of us will do whatever it takes. Okay. So, and what I'm saying is, now remember, I do not work for the government of Liberia. So whatever it is that they are doing there, I always work independent. For example, just like when we had the issue with the 3 missing boys, okay, I was doing my own assessment on the ground. And I know, for example, one, I can tell you that, like a body was planted. And also you have remnants of a wooden structure that was that mysteriously appeared. Why did that happen? To show that, oh yes, the canoe capsized and we were able to find pieces of the canoe, and then that one body also appeared. So there's hope that 2 other bodies will appear. You see, so Mrs. Brooks, I've been in this business for a long time. A lot of things I've been trained to operate covertly. Okay. So again, I don't want to get into the security aspect of things, but
we want to say thanks for taking the time.
So
Hold on, Stanley. Hold on, you guys. As you release the 2nd and 3rd batches, perhaps you will have answers for most of the questions that have been asked tonight. Come here, Datus.
Thank you, the giant. Point number one of your first point in countering the autopsy report, you said, and I quote, your findings as the cause of death as mentioned above are incorrect. Giving the undisputed facts in the case, there can be no correlation between the said autopsy report and the investigative facts due to the lack of both medical and forensic merits. Do you mind telling the public what are some of the undisputed facts of the case as a forensic expert?
I would love.
No, just the undisputed facts. And two, how did you come up with the conclusion that Dr. Coley doesn't have a medical report before conducting the autopsy as a clinical pathologist?
No, so if you you know, I'm glad you focus on that aspect of the document. So first and foremost, she had multiple multiple stab wounds.
Okay.
The issue that he stated, okay, people survive that every day. You have a nurse, practitioner who's here and will tell you people survive like pneumothorax, hemothorax, every day. Okay, as in, which most times happen through accidents. So that's why I say it does not medically it makes sense, because if that was the case, first and foremost, the outcome would have been different. Again, I don't want to get into certain things because my goal is not to render any assistance. The question that
I'm not
right.
I'm not asking you to get any details, right, Doc?
Right.
But you said yeah, according to your statement,
I sure did.
Yes, Dr. Koji also told the public that this girl, both of you agreed that there were multiple stab wounds, correct? Secondly, he told the public that one of the stabbing led to a puncture artery that bled through the lungs, collapsing it as a cause of death, leading to bleeding. And you are saying here that this isn't medical, based on what you said here in your first point. This doesn't merit being medical in your eyes as a cause of death? Are you dismissing that?
Dismissing the fact that, because remember now, already Dr. Coley said that the goal of the autopsy, the records are there. The goal of the autopsy is to show that particular stab wound that led to her death. Okay? It is impossible for that to have been the only stab wound that led to her death. That's why when you go to the bottom, the links are even there as a point of reference that you can go and watch any day. I broke the video recording down categorically based on timeline, and it's there for everybody. So you just have to take a look. Again, I think for the fourth time now, I will say this: if you have Dr. Fisker, he will tell you people survive pneumothorax, hemothorax on a daily basis.
Yes, but when you also listen to Dr. Fix, though, Dr. Fix said, it's one thing to stab somebody in the thigh. It's another thing to stab somebody in the chest.
Correct.
Because of the sensitive organs. And potentially, that could lead to death because of the sensitivities of where the organs are.
Correct.
Right?
So,
and Dr. Coley and you agree that this girl had multiple stab wounds. We agree on that.
Yes.
But as part of the clinical investigation, there can be several bullets that go into a person's body, but the one that hits the heart is the one that may cause the death.
So now
right?
you make sense.
So that being said, is that not medical in and of itself?
No.
That stab wound that went to the chest, that collapsed the lung, may have caused the death.
No. So first and foremost, you're mixing apples with oranges. I'm afraid I must say you cannot compare a stab wound with bullet wound, because when the bullet enters the body, so many different things happen in there. So those are two different
Agreed.
two instruments. Okay, so don't compare the two. Now, with regards to the stab, now you must understand that she was stabbed laterally. Okay, on her left, the left side of her rib cage is where she was stabbed. So the possibility of that story, especially in the case where you have multiple stab wounds, and that's why I keep saying, I know what he's trying to do, which I won't say now until he has released a report. Because again, my goal is not, there's a lot that I can say here tonight, but my goal is not to assist him. You see, I have a personal vendetta with him. So I'm not going to assist him because we have to square things off, and this is just how we have to do it now in a public forum.
Well done.
Mind tell us what is your personal vendetta?
Yes. So, sure, I can say. So we had an encounter in 2019 when the government of Liberia claimed that they could not afford, or they had no one to do the post-mortem examination on the remains of the late Odell Sherman.
Mm-hmm.
I was contacted basically, and I went to Liberia. He decided to personally attack me and was being very unprofessional. So now I have to show him that I am aware of how this system is supposed to run, as opposed to him trying to play cover up. We'll
leave it at that. I want to say thanks. Tom has caught up with us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next batch of your reports as you come to Bridgewater, Africa. If the guys and don't have anything else, we want to say the big thanks for taking up time tonight. Dr. Fisk,
welcome.
Yeah, so the report says in 2 weeks. So we should be getting his final report, hopefully, and we'll have you back to give us more details.
Well, okay. Yes, and so at least if Mr. Garley can show that just how the autopsy was basically made, an open autopsy, that a report will also be released expeditiously. So because I won't say anything until the report comes. So if it comes a year from now, oh well, then
and we're still working on a face-off with you and Dr. Coley. So just rest assured that we're doing everything possible to get him on. Okay.
I can't wait.
Okay. Dr. Cooper, thank you so much for taking up time. Okay, well, ladies, gentlemen, as we go home tonight, I want to throw light. Sometimes people say all kinds of things about the things that the government are not doing. And a lot of people leave out some of the good things that are happening in the country. And speaking of good things, we had this lady who was once the mayor of the city of Monrovia, Mary Brawl. Then she moved on to foreign affairs and became the passport director, did exceptionally well. And she also moved on to the General Services Agency, where she performed as well. Now she's heading the anti-theft unit at the Liberia Electricity Corporation. Let us take a look at one of the very interesting video we got from their page, and then we can talk about it before we go home tonight. Something you got to end the show with a light.
From my heart, I'm saying thank you. If I catch any one of you into anything that's not good, I will drag you. You got that? Continue with your team and let them be honest. Let them continue to be honest. So this is my own little way of saying thank you. I'm going to drink some water here.
Okay, Sylvester and your team, on behalf of DG, all of our own pockets. Earnest page. Just this morning, I was saying it to you people, be earnest to yourself. Work while it's day. Work while it's day. We are so impressed and so happy today. This is not the first time. This is not the second time. This is the third time. Even Mola Bites.
The fourth time.
Fourth time we receive Mola Bites, and you people offer you people bites in all years for being earnest. So on behalf of DG, she said thank you. Thank you for your hard work. So first of your team, God bless you people. No one come to us. Always saying, LDC people will take drive. LDC people like money. LDC people this, but this is an example. People bribing you people, and you people refusing. So on behalf of the team, Mr. Santi, we say thank you for the hard work. We giving it to you. Share it.
So the workers have been bribed for the most part, and you have seen since she took over, the employees have been very faithful because of integrity. They have refused checks in the tune of 700 United States dollars, some 5,000, just for the guys to illegally being connected with LEC. And I think this is a good start for the country and in that department. Ladies, gentlemen, what you guys think before we go on tonight?
You know, Ashford, as I listen to Mary Bro, she is an example of why people make the arguments that you can be in government and carved out for yourself a personality of integrity, service, and dedication. But your legacy may only surround you as a personality. It may not necessarily affect the people in Grand Bassa County. So when people ask the question, you've been in government, what do you have to show? You and I know that she was good in the passport area. She did some work at GSA, and now she's working with LEC, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I see that.
Mm-hmm.
So if Mary Bro decides to run for the presidency tomorrow, and somebody asks, what is your legacy as a civil servant or as a public sector employee? You make those small changes for quick impact, not to leave a substantial national legacy to the point where people begin to ask, you've been in government for all these years, what did you do? But that's exactly what she's doing. And it's possible that whoever comes after her may not be able to institute that legacy of integrity. But that's what she's doing to make a difference for her country, to stamp corruption. So when she's running tomorrow, you can look back and say, well, I know when she was there, she did X, Y, Z. The first time I heard about Mary Bro, it was very shocking. I heard about her in time, but I went to a funeral of a gentleman in Maryland, and I heard that her sense of integrity and dedication to service started way back when National Bank was brought into its function. She was one of the technicians or the technocrats that helped to support National Bank in a very unique way. And this is the role of public servants. They don't leave behind national legacies that impact the entire national social sector of the economy.
Please hold that till we have Madam Mary Bro on the line. And to say one or two. Madam Bro, hello and welcome to Bridge Radio.
Oh, thank you so much. How you doing?
Well, we are better than good. We give God the glory. We were just here talking about the good works that you are doing at the LEC and giving people praise for a job well done with integrity. What is your take?
Well, I would like to thank the President George Manawia, for continuously appointing me to these assignments. It is a challenge to work with a system that is long been, rooted and entrenched in some of these patterns and these habits. But albeit, I was appointed to a daunting task, but with commitment and passion and a love for country, I'm trying my best to get LEC at a level where it can generate revenue again.
Okay, let me bring in my panelists. Maybe they have one or two questions for you. Let us begin with Dr. James Fisk. Dr. Fisk?
Yeah, hi, Ms. Brewer, and welcome to the show. I don't know whether you agree with me, but yeah, thank you. So I don't know whether you agree with me, but when I think of you, I think of a bittersweet kind of situation. Sweet in the sense that we have an individual who wants to demonstrate integrity. Bitter in the sense that you are a constant reminder that institutions are not working in Liberia. Okay, because we don't need a Mary Bro before LEC is able to do its work. We don't need Mary Bro as an individual before the passport services are done well. We don't need a Mary Bro before GSA works efficiently. Okay, so help us understand how you can take this to another level, help to set up institutions that would work. rather than just a situation where we need may be brought before something works. Help us understand that.
Okay, so in Liberia, Liberians have to be willing to commit themselves and be focused, be nation-loving, to do the assignments that they are given to do. It is our duty as Liberians to at least love our country and love our people. Most of the people are very young. This is a very young country. And, we need to teach them. My generation, I'll be 72. It is our duty to teach them what is right. They might not know. All they've known was war and all of that. And, it is our duty to let them understand that you can do things for your nation without you being corrupt. Because, to be very frank with you, they are just chasing the almighty dollar. And maybe this is what they know because of what they went through. But there got to be a group of people committed to bring them on board, to teach them the right thing.
Hey, that's who's at it.
Madam Bro, let me first of all thank you for your indefatigable efforts to serve the Liberian people with such recognized sense of hard work, dedication, and integrity. I certainly do agree with you that Liberia, as a people, we need to come to the reality that we must put patriotism above individualism for the national greater good. That being said, if you were to advise this government in terms of how we move this legacy that you've built at different institutions you've worked for, serving the people with distinction. I am an example. When I went to Liberia during my father's burial, you came down and you saw that there was a crowded group of people who should have gotten their passport. But those that work with you have not done so in an efficient manner. And you took over that aspect of it and ensured that everybody got their passport in a timely fashion. Thank you. That being said, what is the advice you have for a government and its people that are living on $1.95 below the international poverty line, yet we're calling them to be honest, dedicated, when the opportunity for survivalism is often perpetrated by corruption?
Okay, so telling the government or advising the government for the officials or everybody else to do the right thing, it comes from way back. Most of us came from abject poverty. And from our beginnings, from our value system, it was difficult, but we were able to persevere. So I am not blaming anybody per se. I still say it is my generation's duty to let these young people know it's a young generation. And those who are in government are also young. So we the ones who are supposed to tell them, look, you got to do the right thing because this is how we need to do it. We need to look at others and see how they've done it in the past. We need to look at other cultures and say, look, let's do it this way. I'm not going to be here to blame anybody, but we all have to do our part and to be able to help our nation. We can't put the blame squarely on one group of people, but it has to be an effort from all of us to let others know that we are going to be role models. We are going to teach them the right thing. So as I said again, I'm not going to start blaming people, pointing the finger. It is our duty in my generation to teach the younger ones.
Mr. Lexi Brooks Roberts.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Brough, for being on the show, and thank you for your service. We've heard a whole lot about you, and thank you for demonstrating that women in leadership can make a difference. My question to you, one of our followers wants to know, would you be willing to handle the police if given the opportunity? Run the LNP, that is. But before you answer that, I also want to add, by you serving in these different capacities, capacities, it shows that you have something to offer. How is it that the administration doesn't see the same thing in other people that are not performing well in their roles and maybe move them places where they may serve either even better or just get rid of them?
Well, I can tell you, I am not into politics, and it takes a nation, it takes a village, to raise a child.
Right.
The president, I see some difficulty. He's trying his best, but it is very difficult to change habits. So it says, changing minds and attitudes. We need, as I said again, we need to be able to get these young people. This is a young generation now that is chasing the almighty dollar. We need to be able to bring them back to base and say to them, look, we need to do it this way. So it requires leadership and management. And I said, I am not political, so I cannot say, oh, this, that, and other. But what we can do to be able to take the generation from one level to the other in terms of commitment, to be focused, to be passionate, to get our country going is what I look at. So I try my best whenever I'm given an opportunity. Those who come with me to work with me, so out of 10, we might get maybe 5 to move on and do what I do. And I think there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I just want to add a quick question just before ASHFORD come in. Help us understand how the process works. So you arrest people who are trying to steal electricity from government. What happens next? And help us to understand, as a result of what you've been doing, how much you've been able to save this government.
So I was asked by the president to come and do some intervention. Mm-hmm. You see, LEC has been around for a long time. Before LEC, it was PUA. For those of you who are young, who don't know the name, the precursor to LEC. It was PUA, with water and sewer being part of that. Public utility, company. So, for what you've asked me, that, what is next and what's to be next, I still say, and I mean, I am not going to be difficult. I'm not trying to be difficult. But our society is sometimes a bit difficult, and the excuse is, oh, we are coming from war. And so our minds are still not molded yet. We still are, traumatized, and you need to give us a chance to do this and the other. I still say, and I don't want to blame, as I said, anybody, but my generation, we are still around. With all the people that are on board who were appointed by the president, they need to be able to support in this government, to support the president's agenda, and the agenda being, let us try to move the nation forward by getting the right things done. Now, you're talking about, will he get rid of them? What will he do? It is tough. It is very tough. People get compassionate. People say, oh, well, let us give this person a second chance. I personally, it's very difficult for me to give second chance, because I think we have been at this thing for too long. Post-war, 16 years going, 16 years counting. And there are times that you have to punish, and there are times that you have to rehabilitate, give people a second chance. So we move forward. Every day we put a foot forward. So it is my ardent hope that what I've been doing, the Liberians would see me, they say thank you, and I say to them, come and join me. But I can tell you one thing, they are a bit lazy. they are lazy.
Well, Madam Broad, I heard you talk about your...
No, let me get there. You talk about the LEC process. Now, since I was called to do this job, the first thing I have to do is to clean up and dislodge those who are within LEC. You get me? Those who are within LEC have to be told that you cannot take LEC's revenue for yourself. That's very selfish. So for a while, LEC has been in the red. When I was asked to come in, the way we do it, once you are caught, there is an anti-power theft law on the books that has been signed by the legislature. But what I do, I give the same people who are violated, I give them a second chance. I bring them in, they are fined, and eventually they are metered, and they are warned that when you do this again, it's a jail term. So from that time on, there have been so many people coming in. They say, Madam Bro, I've done wrong. You are fining me. Thank you. I'm paying my $50 or my $100. I will not do it again. And so because of that, we have been processing and metering 500 persons a day. So it's good news. We will get there.
Madam Bro, what are you doing to duplicate yourself? There are accusations that when you, Mary Bro, was at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you did exceptionally well. And you took the same legacy to the Monrovia City Hall and to the GSA. Now you are at LEC. What have you done to duplicate yourself? Because when she leaves, everything stops. When she's dead, things are working.
Again, you are right. It is our commitment. It is our love for country. And you have to do things the right way. It's all about value system. I am not going to start giving you excuses. There are people who follow me. And I keep telling them, you are 10, you are 13, or you are 15. But please make sure the legacy continues. And I'm training them. For example, at the Passport Bureau, I train some people. At birth certificate, I train some people. At GSA, I did. At the port, I did. So it's all not lost. If these people are given the opportunity to do their work, they will do it. But again, in society, there are people who think somebody coming on and doing the right thing is a threat. Or you are disturbing me and you are stopping my chopping. So there got to be brave people who can say, look, no matter what, I will do what Mary Bro taught me to do, what she trained me to do. So all they have to get is a chance to do what I do. But there are people there. They are good Liberians, hardworking Liberians. They have to be given a chance.
Madam Bro, I want to say a big thank you for taking the time. I know it's 11:28 in Liberia, and we are so honored to have you on Bridge Radio tonight. Thank you so much. Just before you leave,
I'm up, I'm reading.
Okay, just before you leave, I will have Pastor Adi squeeze in one, and perhaps Mrs. Brooks, and I'll put it around the room with another round of questions. So, Pastor Adi, go.
Madam Bro, as I saw in the video, a company was, stealing electricity and they were demetered by your guys. Are there prominent Liberians who are also being exposed for illegal electricity? And if so,
from within the
right, and if so,
its employees within government, assistant ministers, government officials, within business, Indians, Lebanese, nationals, Fula nationals. I am not giving anybody a chance, and I am not being, selective. I'm doing what I have to do because I'm there to do a job. And people have to know that
right, so,
what they are doing.
Right, so I was trying to finalize the question. So that being said, it was rumored that you even took meter from the president's house that were illegally put there. Is that true or false?
No. It was on the president's transformer, where people were actually attaching and connecting themselves. It was on his transformer behind his residence.
So they were stealing his current.
Yeah, so to speak, but they found out that I found out. Because don't forget, I also get the intel. I get the intel from the field. I'm told this is what is happening. So I couldn't leave them on the president's transformer because it was very heavy on his his power. So I had to get him off.
Thank you. My final question again. I said thank you. You didn't answer the question about serving on the LNP, and lastly, someone wants to know. Actually, let me read the question verbatim. It says, "Can she go as the vice president as the vice president to another of those two major candidates? Someone wants to know what.
No, that is not my area. I am not very interested. As I said, I'm not political. I'm not into that. I prefer to do community-led activities. Oh. You see, without a community, there will be no government. There will be no leadership. You have to start with the communities first. And the communities must work along and be happy before you go in there to start selecting votes. If those people are not happy, nothing will happen. So for me, community-led activities are what I like to do, to be able to get some results.
Jim?
So I'm result-based, result-oriented, and that's what I like to do, and not to get into elected positions. No, that's not my area.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, if I must ask a question, and then I'll just do a follow-up to Ms. Roberts' question. It's not political. It's actually, it has to do with civil service. Hypothetically speaking, if you were asked to be police director, understanding that in Liberia, there's a law that prohibits preventing free movement of people. We know very well that in the corridor, the street that leads alongside George Weah House is blocked from public access. Would you be in a position to tell Mr. Weah that he is violating the Constitution by blocking the road? He's not above the law, and that place should be open for public access. Would you be in a position to do that? That's not political. That's non-political. That's civil question.
I live in the States before too. If you look at Washington, D.C., Lafayette Park, there are reasons why roads are blocked. I mean, I'm not talking about all roads. Maybe portions of roads for some reason. And so he's the president, and maybe people just go driving in. And, our people like to have, they drive drunk, they hit fences and all of that. So I think for the president, in this case, the other roads are not blocked, but I think directly by his house is where they block. And being a police director, you got to also make sure that traffic laws are obeyed, that you have police everywhere at street corners. If that is done, Liberians are followers, If you tell them you can't come here because of this situation, or you cannot do this, they might quarrel a little bit, but they will follow. So for me, that area of the president's residence, I can understand that part. But remember now, going to his other residences, the roads are not blocked. You got people living right near, for example, the Jamaica Resort. The road is not blocked. But I think in his vicinity there, the proximity, they don't want anybody kind of, just driving in like that. That's how I see it.
So how many...
Madam Bro, as the country opens up, you would need technicians and managers in other parts of the country. The last time when I listened to you, you said you would need people in Maryland County, you would need people in Grand Gita, Cape Mount. So for the work the young people are doing now, I can tell you're passionate and you love this generation. What has been done to have people decentralized and not just only in Montserrat? LUC.
Okay, good question. When Mother Selig was president, she started that decentralization process within the revenue generation and with the local government. Look, I tell you something. It is extremely difficult to try to decentralize everything. You've got to test the waters to decentralize. Right now, they've decentralized the local government. They have taken some services to the counties in terms of revenue generation. And so this way everybody doesn't come to the city. So there are service centers all over the place. And as I said, it takes time to be able to change minds and attitudes. What they are doing now with the taxes and service, oriented, activities, you have service centers within the counties. So nobody to be coming to Monrovia to pay to get maybe driver's license, to get birth certificates. They are trying their best to decentralize that. It would take some time, but at least, there is a step forward.
Atisha?
Yes. So thank you again for being here. We appreciate you, and we wish we should clone you to have more of you in our different sectors of Liberia, because there's a definite need, and I'm sure you know that as well. But thank you for being here, and we appreciate.
Okay. You are welcome, but I just want to say something about the private sector. We now need to look into the private sector and get young people to do some business startups. And it's tough, but I see young people here doing business startups. They are on WhatsApp. They are actually showing their products and all of that. So there's help in a way with the same mindset that, look, I can do a business startup instead of going to government. So the private sector needs to be looked at very carefully. Let the young people stay in the private sector, not necessarily government. Not everything is in government.
Well, we just want to let you know that we appreciate you, and Liberians in the diaspora appreciate your hard work as well. And in 1 or 2 minutes, your final statement before we leave here, Madam Bro.
Okay. At this time, I'm very humbled to have received this call. I'm humble, and I want to thank the Liberians abroad who always come. When they come home, they come to look for me, to ask me questions, to follow me, to shadow me as to how I do what I do. I want to be grateful. I also want you to help with our economy, and I know you help all the time, because the remittances that are coming without you, it will be very tough. So I would like to thank the Liberians in the diaspora for what you continue to do to think about Liberia. Some of you want to come back home, and I want you all to keep that promise to come home no matter what. I know you have to send your kids to school. They are still in, high school. Some of them just entering universities, and you got mortgages to pay. But out of 10, 1 or 2 persons can come. It's the same thing with those in Australia. I talk to them all the time. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to at least say some of the things that you had issues with or you want to understand. Thank you so much for the Liberians and the diaspora for the support system.
Thank you, my bro, and you have a good night. Well, on that note, folks, why don't we end the show tonight? Lady, gentlemen?
That was a pleasant surprise, Mr. Garley. I'll go first since the gentlemen were here before me.
Right.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you for bringing her on. And those are the things that we ask. We want to hear from our, be it non-political or representatives or, lawmakers. Come and tell us what you're doing or what you plan on doing for our people. Don't just, talk on the street or stay in the house and do nothing. But I appreciate her being here. And thank you all for being here as well.
Okay. Now, Sunny?
Well, we still need to hear from our president. I think Madam Bro is an example of there are good people in government that happens to be yet functional in the sea of corruption for the greater good of the country. But that visibility may be scarred by an overwhelming negative news around ineptitude, kleptocracy, amongst several other things. But she's trying to do her best. We've seen that reflected in the different capacities that she's worked in. And you don't have to make government an opportunity for your personal wealth, but you can leave a legacy of integrity that this generation can follow, and even your colleagues can also follow. I often tell people as I close that it's important for Liberians to put patriotism above individualism, nationalism above tribalism, for the greater good of the country. Thank you.
Dr. Fisk.
I would just speak on behalf of our viewers and say that the addition of clips to the program tonight made a significant difference. At least they were able to understand some of these issues that we've been discussing. And the fact that we've been able to come up with some of these individuals on screen, I'm sure hadn't played a role in getting Ms. Bro on the show tonight, and I hope other people would also see it and see the need to get on the program and help to clarify some of these very critical issues that we keep having. The district number 10 issue is an issue that needs to be addressed. If we can get Mr. Koluba on board or other people that are running against him, the issue with the unresolved murder case with the daughter of Gloria Musu Scott and the impact that our doctor Rockefeller was able to have on this show was very impactful. And of course, we rounded things up with Ms. Mary Braw. In as much as I admire the work of Ms. Mary Braw, I still think is a disservice to Liberia that instead of institutions working in this manner, we have individuals working in this manner, because without institutional performance at this level, we cannot say that we have a guarantee for the posterity of Liberia. And that's a sad thing. That's something that really needs to be addressed. And I hope in future it gets to be addressed. Thank you.
And tomorrow we might take a look at the RIA road project. Let's see what have they done, what are they doing on that on that road. With that said, Pastor Hyde, why don't you take us home with a prayer?
Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for all of our viewers tonight. We thank you for all the panelists. Lord, in spite of our political differences, we pray for peace in Liberia. We pray for a leader after your own heart, in the name of Jesus. Yes, Lord, we may have our own personal preferences, but you, God, you see beyond our natural eyes. We pray for a leader, God, that will make Liberia a prosperous nation, a nation that puts you first in its worship. So thank you, Lord, that if there be anyone on this platform watching by this Facebook platform, if there be any sick one on this line, we pray for healing according to your promise of Isaiah 53 verse 5, that you were bruised for our iniquities and the chastisement of our peace was placed upon you, and by your stripes, for God, we are healed. Let there be healing tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
And folks, that's all the time we have to be with you tonight. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. Until then, remember, please allow me to borrow the words of the wise man. Talk time, don't last, all people do. The height of a man is never known until he rises, because there's no second chance to make that first impression. Some call him the mastermind, the golden boys of Liberia, the doctor of law, the broadcast commissioner, the medicine of the microphone. Africa's media do be doing extraordinary. Just sit to find get someone to what no check. What I'm like, I call you cool say, Roba, quick on you. You crop, baby, I cook, every play. Second, where I fell here. Yours truly. As for the giant, he doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion. Have a great night.